Now, coming back to the US, Joe Biden has left the Oval Office, as I'm sure you know, and left something for his successor, a personal letter, returning the gesture that Donald Trump made for him in 2021. Now, this is a bit of an inauguration day tradition among US presidents. They exchange letters, handwritten letters, which are filled with some advice, some humor, and a lot of humanity after a heated election season. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you wrote a letter? Actually, when was the last time you wrote anything more than a few pointers? It's been a while, hasn't it? Because we live in a digital world with screens of all shapes and sizes. Miss a friend, send them a meme. Have a work update, text your colleagues. Want a grocery list, type it on the Notes app, or wait, you could just tell Siri or Alexa. This is how we live today. Our phones, our computers, they are changing how we write if we do it at all. And so, writing is dying. Does it matter? If you ask teachers, more and more of them may say no, it doesn't, because handwriting is increasingly disappearing in schools too. In the US, students are no longer required to learn cursive writing. Finland removed it from schools in 2016. Swiss schools have reduced its use. Many Indian states are doing away with cursive as well. Now, this is part of a growing norm. The world over, 1/3 of students cannot write legibly. So that day is not far when children will look at cursive and call it a primitive foreign language. It is quite sad, really. But before we grieve education standards, do know that school children are not the only ones in this club. It includes adults too. Most of us, in fact. Very few people are putting pen to paper. According to studies, 1 in 3 educated adults do not write anything by hand for about 6 months. And 2 in 3 struggle to read someone else's handwriting. And this is not just about reading doctors' prescriptions. This is the norm. You don't need data to see it. We have thousands of calendar apps today. Few of us have actual calendars. We don't beg celebrities for autographs anymore. We want selfies. We don't write letters anymore. We spam people with TikToks and Reels. And experts get it. In the real world, in this digital world, handwriting can seem quite useless, at least from a practical skill point of view. But they also warn us that this skill atrophy is harming us. In 2012, scientists held a study. They sat down a group of preschool children and they asked them to learn letters. And the children did this in 2 ways. First, by writing them out by hand, and second, by typing them on a keyboard. And later, the children were put under an MRI scanner. They were shown the various letters, and their brains were mapped. Now, for those who practiced by hand, scans showed their brains light up. They were highly activated because they processed information deeply. On the other hand, the activation was much weaker for those who learned by typing, because writing by hand has many benefits. It can stimulate visual recognition. It improves learning ability, it boosts retention, it improves memory in general. So the loss of writing by hand means the loss of cognitive skills, and in many ways, the loss of your being, of your personality. Scrawled writings show us a painter's head full of ideas. Careful writings tell us about a monk's discipline, because your handwriting is a marker of who you are. For thousands of years, handwritings have taught us about entire civilizations. They show us how humans made their thoughts visible to each other. They help us trace our history. They help us remember things about ourselves that we have long forgotten, like that birthday card from your loved one, that handwritten message from your favorite teacher, or that signed album you braved crowds for. So losing handwriting is a sign of our times. But to live without it is to lose some of our humanity.